Hello, my stamping friends. This is Renae Novak at BlessedByCards.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and I'm here today to share with you a card that I created using the new bundle, Happiness Abounds. Now, this bundle is in the annual catalog, the 2022-2023 catalog, and I just put together this fun card, and I'm going to share with you some of the techniques that I used to do this card. The first thing you're going to need to do is choose your color base for your card. I chose Gorgeous Grape. Whatever you choose, then you're going to do your accent flowers to match or coordinate with your color. I am using the Pastel Chalks. I'm also using the blends for Highland Heather and Flirty Flamingo. So let's get started with me sharing with you a little bit about how I created that image. Now, my center focal point, I decided to stamp the large flower using the Stamparatus. And the reason I did the Stamparatus is because after I added the pastel chalks, the black lines kind of get dull and I wanted to make them pop. So the first thing you need to do is use your Stamparatus to just stamp a simple the large flower image, and that's what I've done here. And then I took the pastel chalks and I pulled out the Gorgeous Grape one, and then I just did a little palette, if you will, and then I used my finger to add the color to my image. Now it gets a little messy on your fingers, so you might want to be sure to have a rag near you that you can wipe off your fingers before you move on to the next part of the card. Otherwise you're going to have a purpley card. Okay, you can also color directly onto your image if you want, and then smear it with the pastel. Depends on how dark and how much of a contrast you want. And you don't have to really be too fussy about your fingers where they go, because you can smudge off, because we're going to cut this image out and put it on top of the card. So basically that is pretty much all I did. And because the image got a little duller, what I did was I came back in and I again stamped it with the Memento Black, image it up, and then layered it down so that this one's not going to match up correctly because this one matches up, but I just stamped this one regularly. So what you'll want to do is make sure that you line it up, stamp it down, and then after you add all of your coloring, if you feel that you need it darker, pop it back into your Stamparatus and redo that. So then let me get my hands all kind of cleaned off here so that I don't get purple everywhere. Okay, so let me bring back in the card. All of the measurements and all of the dimensions and all the products that I'm using today will be available in a free download on my blog. So if you don't feel like writing them down, no worries, they'll be available for you. Okay, let's bring that card back in, and the image that we just stamped and added color using those pastel chalks. And what you want to do is take a blender pen, and I'm choosing the dark Bliss pen, because the Blackberry Bliss, because we don't have a Gorgeous Grape one, and I just added a little highlights around different parts of the flower to give that detailed image. You can also do that if you prefer with our Gorgeous Grape watercolor pencils. They're great. You can just add that color directly on there, and then you can take a blender pen and come in and maybe just give those highlights that might match just a little bit better than the dark Blackberry Bliss. So either way, you can do either way. They will both work. And then you want to run them through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and then just build up your card. Now for my leaves, Again, I chose to use 2 mediums, the colored pencils, and I just kind of laid down a dark color in the middle, a little bit towards the bottom of the not garden green, I'm sorry, the granny apple green. And then I came back in with the blender pen and colored those leaves and blended that. And you can leave white on the space if you want and just make it however dark you want with the blends. And then I did that 3 times to cut out those to make the leaves. So 2 things, watercolor pencil and blends, they work great together. And then I just did plain blends, nothing on this one, on the other flowers, and I built them up. So one of the tips that I would give to you when I'm using a collage like this is to use your glue dots to adhere the flowers in the position that you want before you put them onto your card. And that really helps to build the collage the way you want. My other tip for the day is sometimes, I don't know if you notice, and I don't know what makes this happen, but sometimes our images or our words are really, really nice and crisp, and other times they're not. So I don't know if you can see this one, but this one is not as crisp as this one. And so what I have found that all you have to do is prime your stamps. So if you get one and you stamp it and it kind of has a little bit of a grainy look to it, and you want it to be nice and crisp, the way that I prime my new stamps is I just grab my Versamark ink pad and I stamp that image in the Versamark, and you can stamp it off on a piece of paper and then stamp it into your ink that you want. And I don't know if you can see the difference between those two, but I have found that once I prime them with the Versamark, they are just a little crisper of an image. So I've heard other people take sandpaper to their stamps, but I don't really want to ruin my stamps at all. So I found that the Versamark is really a quick and easy way to prime those stamps that don't give you a crisp image. So that's really all I have for you today. That is my simple card that I built up, and this is the fern 3D background that I just ran through the Stampin' Cut and Boss machine, and then I just added a little bling to snazz up my card at the very end. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future Make It Monday tutorials. So until next time, be blessed.